Since one of our course activities is discussing the plagiarism in the class project case, it only makes sense that we have at least a little coverage of the Turnitin package, which is used to detect plagiarism. And so the topics that we will discuss are going to be setting up Turnitin, because there are a few settings that can make a big difference in terms of what it detects, specifically whether it detects homework assignments that have previously been submitted or whether it limits itself to searching the web. We'll take a look at a Turnitin report because Turnitin is not that useful if you do not look specifically at what it has detected. And this is particularly important if you're going to accuse a student of plagiarism. And then finally, we'll take a look at how you can get Turnitin reports of your own work. And the long and short of it is you have to create a test student and then submit an assignment by that test student. So what we're going to start with on Turnitin.com is taking a look at the assignment settings that you're going to want. And I'm going to go into my test course where I've already prepared an assignment with a Turnitin. And what I will then do is I will go into that assignment. We'll just take a look at some of the settings. And we'll go into Edit. And if we come down here, normally a Turnitin assignment will have file uploads. You click on Enable Turnitin Settings, and then you can go to the Advanced Settings, which identify the way you want to set up the program. So the first setting you have is, do you want the students to be able to see the originality report? And the options are immediately, after the assignment is graded, after the due date, never. Now, my experience has been that a lot of students do not really understand plagiarism. And we tend to imagine that they do and are simply ignoring it. But particularly in my master's class, which is the class that is profiled in the case study, Plagiarism in the Class Project, I have really been astonished at the degree to which the students did not understand plagiarism, as evidenced by the fact that they kept sending me emails, have I plagiarized this? So I like the students to be able to see their originality reports. My feeling is the first defense against plagiarism is having students understand that they will be caught, and also having students understand what plagiarism is. And both of these are benefits of letting them see the originality reports. Now, the term immediately is a misnomer because it can take up to 24 to 48 hours for these originality reports to actually appear. And this causes students a lot of concerns. Now, the next settings involve what do you want to compare against. Now, if you're primarily worried about students copying from each other, then you would check off other student papers. That was less of a concern in the particular assignment that I was dealing with. And it also creates a problem because if students resubmit an assignment after an initial draft has been submitted, then what will happen is all of a sudden you will get all of these indications of plagiarisms. On the other hand, if you're using the same assignment over and over again, and every semester you have students writing topics on the same papers, then it probably would make sense to click on other student papers. Another possibility might be to have one version of the assignment, a draft version, and in the draft version you can click other student papers, and then have a final version where you unclick it so that students aren't accused of plagiarizing their own draft. Now, the internet database and the journals, periodicals, and publications, I think you would pretty much always want to have checked. This should pick up things from paper mills and, of course, copying out of articles and the web. Uh, do not consider the bibliographic material. Otherwise, every single reference is likely to be noted as plagiarized. The quoted material is something that you may want to think about. I had one group of students who basically quoted about 80% of their initial draft of the chapter. Now, technically, if you quote it and you attribute it to a source, it's not plagiarism, but it could be copyright violation. Also, small matches. 5 words is probably a little bit low. You might even want to go up to 15 or 20 words. And you can less than certain percentage of the document. I leave that blank. That's, to me, could allow for significant plagiarism if it was, say, a large document or a book. So I prefer not to have that one checked. So with these settings, what will happen is the students will be alerted that it is a Turnitin assignment. They will be alerted that there is the possibility of plagiarism. Now, there's one other thing that you might want to think about checking or changing. So we go to Settings, then Course Details, then we go into Edit Course Details, and over here there is a message that you can fill in, and I think there's usually a default message here when you have a USF created course as opposed to one that you created yourself that includes comments made to the students whenever there is a Turnitin enabled assignment. I think this is a legal issue that they're terribly concerned about, but at any rate, when you have a Turnitin assignment, whatever comments are in this block will appear within that assignment. So you can view the report from Turnitin in the speed grader, and I'm going to go to the grade book here. And this green box here indicates that there's a Turnitin report, and the fact that it's green means that it's not considered to be heavily plagiarized. What I actually uploaded here was the 11 chapters of the book that was the class project for plagiarism in the class project. Now, it turns out that the Crocodoc program actually has a time limit and a size limit for files, and because that file was nearly 400 pages long, I'm not able to view it here. It also may have to do with the fact that I've been doing a lot of other work on the computer, and I may have reached a bandwidth limit. At any rate, I'd have to come back later if I wanted to view the file, but I could, of course, download it. But that is not the same as the Turnitin report. The Turnitin report is accessed over here. So if I click here, what happens is I should be able to access the Turnitin report. And yes, I have been able to access the Turnitin report. And the Turnitin report basically comes in 2 sides. One side is the document itself, and then the other side identifies where the plagiarism or where the similarity comes from. So, for example, if I were to click on this Huffington Post, it will actually show me that the Huffington Post is brown, so it shows me the various plagiarized lines. Now, these do not look like terribly plagiarized lines, and it also indicates that it's out of a study. So if I were looking at this, I would probably say, oh, that's okay. And this is really important. When you're looking at these things, you want to go through the report and just see how significant the copying appears to be. And in this particular case, the document's 399 pages. But if I go down through all this, we tend to have very, very small very, very small levels of plagiarism, and sometimes it might be a reference. Let's take a look at the MIS quarterly plagiarism. Here, once again, they refer to, this is, I think I would probably be able to live with that, since they are identifying the actual original source that was also identified in MISQ. So basically, using this, you can determine the level of plagiarism and decide whether punishment is required or whether instead it makes more sense to educate your students. You can download this entire report. I won't do this here because it takes a long time, but it is available for download. And you can also get a text-only version of the report, which makes it a lot easier to move around because these reports tend to be fairly large. And so this should pretty much give you an idea of the capabilities of Turnitin. Here, by the way, is where you can actually print it or download it. I'll click this, and the download and print will include all the annotations that were made in it. So this gives you a reasonable idea of what the Turnitin report is going to look like. The final topic is very quick, which is how do you get Turnitin reports for your own work? Because there's no way to directly submit it as an instructor. Well, all you need to do is go into a course shell, create a test student, and then upload whatever file you want as a test student. By the way, you can upload more than one file. At one point, I actually uploaded 7 different chapters, and I got individual Turnitin reports for all of them. Then when you're done, you can do a reset. And once you've reset, you can upload more.